to the ToyTubers Podcast, a show dedicated to YouTubers who focus on action figures, toys, collecting, action figure reviews, and all that type of stuff. And this week, we have what I'm calling the episode The New Guy, Jonathan, a.k.a. Hedgehog Action. Welcome, my friend.
Hey, man, thanks for having me on. I'm so excited to be on this series. I've really been loving this series, man. I've got something different about, from every single episode, I've took something new from each one. Didn't really expect to be asked to be on. I haven't even been around a year yet, so thank you.
Well, if you had been around longer than a year, then you wouldn't be the new guy, and we wouldn't be able to do the new guy episode, right?
That's why this is your show, man. So you know what to do.
All right, so why don't you start by telling our audience about your channel, how you got started, what you're into, and what your channel looks like.
Sure. So I started my channel just last summer, Hedgehog Action, at Hedgehog Action. And I've been doing like a mix of action figure reviews. And then sometimes I'll go live. Like myself, Eric LeBron, and Ryan Gonzalez have been trying to go live on as many Saturdays as we can during the day. Kind of like if anybody's hanging out like on a Saturday afternoon, can hop on live and do some toy talk. We call that Saturday Day Live. As far as the stuff that I'm into and stuff that I talk about, number one is probably Mythic Legions and soon to be Cosmic Legions joining that party. But I also love Mezco. I've reviewed a couple of Mezco figures. I also love a lot of vintage stuff, but I haven't really gotten into reviewing any of that yet. As far as how I got started, it was sort of by accident. And the sort of part is because I guess I had some like very, very limited, like amateurish experience putting movies together like an iMovie. Like the whole reason why I bought Max years ago was just so I could do like these big birthday videos for my kids where I do the slideshow and they'd have the little trailer templates, and I started shooting like original footage and putting it in every year. And then even during the pandemic, I'm also a big music fan. And throughout the years, I've done a little music production and a little DJing. So I did do a couple of like music focused YouTube videos that I put up during the pandemic. Quiet, Wrinkly. Sorry
Is that your cat?
It's my loud ass cat, man. Yes. But then like how I specifically got into the toy thing was it wasn't planned at all. It was literally just last summer, my Alithia pre-order came in and I happened to be working from home that day. So I had my shirt and tie on for all my Zoom meetings that day. And the box came in and I opened it up and I had Alithia, Baron Volgar 2, and Valak. And that was it. That's all I had in my initial pre-order. And I was just so pumped about it. Like I just had to talk about it somehow, So I went and I had my little crappy photo booth, opened up my iPhone and just started talking.
Nice. Legions is how my channel started. I mean, my first video was Nubnik, I think that was my first video. So similar start to the channel there.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess that's, I hope that sort of like came through. Like I was just so excited. I just needed to talk to somebody about it. And not even my wife was around at the time. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to tape myself talking. There wasn't really a plan as to what to do, which is probably why it's like kind of like rambling. And I just talk for like ever. Like I even had like pointed out, I had like the camera on the iPhone pointed the wrong way. I needed to put it out to landscape. And I was like, all right, well, this is awesome. I was like, I need to put like an intro and outro on it. So I went down to my computer, turned on Zoom and just recorded myself talking on Zoom, slapped that together in iMovie, and that was it.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess that was what, last summer or so, right? When Alithia came out. So in those like 7, 8, 9 months or so, what have you learned? How have you evolved your channel? Like what kind of changes have you made so far?
A lot of it's just been kind of like feeling my way through it. There's like so many figures come in, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, I should do a review for that. I should do a review for that. And I like at any one time, I probably have a backlog of 10 reviews like in my head that I just
Mm.
haven't gotten started on. Um, Most of my reviews are Mythic Legions. The two of my better performing were actually Mezcos, though. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think Theodore Sodcutter was probably my best, not probably, it was by far and away my best performing video. And the only thing that I can really put it on was I happened to get them. I guess they shipped out of New York, that shipment.
Yep.
Got the figure in, and within 24 hours, I had the review up. And it was I think, one of the first reviews up there. It's still one of the only reviews, I think, of Theodore Sodcutter. And it just kind of blew up. So
Yeah.
after that, I was like, well, if I can, like, be one of the first ones to talk about a figure, maybe that will help as far as, getting it out to the people. But that's so difficult. Like, I don't even know, like, how you can even, like, set that up now. So I don't know.
No.
It's sort of like an evolving process. And I'm like, even now trying to think of like different things to do besides just reviewing figures. Because I think it's probably natural to sort of start doing the same things that like everybody else does. Here's what the box looks like. Here's what the figure looks like. Here's the different articulation points.
Mm.
And I sort of have realized that like it probably doesn't make sense to focus on things that I'm not as big on, like articulation, for instance. It matters to me. Like, it matters like how a figure feels like in my hands.
Hmm.
But I don't need every figure to be like triple jointed and like amazing Yamaguchi craziness. Like, a lot of like when I watch a lot of toy reviews, and during the articulation, it's not that I zone out. It's just not my favorite part. So I'm trying to think of like different ways to sort of show that, without just doing the same thing everybody else is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to try to stand out, and it's tough to be different when you're doing a thing that has so many like built-in kind of like expectations, I guess, from an audience, right? Like everybody expects you to do the articulation, everybody expects you to do close-ups and details and all the comparisons, especially, right? Like all that stuff. So finding interesting and new ways to do that is challenging for sure.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I am trying to like keep in my mind is to just, not plan it out too much and have fun with it. Because the whole
Hmm.
point of me talking about this stuff in the first place was that it was fun. Like, I wanted to talk about it. And
Yeah.
I think some of my favorite, parts of my videos are stuff that sort of wasn't planned, that I just like, as I was like putting stuff together, sort of like things came to me. Like, there's a couple of videos where I was just trying to like say something and it was coming out wrong, and I ended
Yeah.
up like with real outtakes, and I just put them on like at the end. And
Yeah.
I thought they were funny. So those are some of my favorite parts.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess my thing that differentiates my channel from a lot of others is my swaps. When I do like swaps towards the end of my videos, it's kind of like my thing. I do need to like, I don't know, get a review style a little more like of my own. But yeah, it can be tough.
It's funny. I mean, look, listen. Your channel is one of my favorite channels out there, and I do feel like it's distinctive. It definitely has its own feel. First of all, with the figures that you talk about, you can always expect like the Mythic Leech to be talked about there. But even like, your background, the way you talk about the figures, I do feel like it's different than a lot of other channels. Um, and for me, it's probably just something that has to like develop naturally. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if somebody like watched like a video that I did and like sees, some of my favorite YouTubers, little bits here and there. And almost none of that is intentional, but I think that's probably natural to sort of like subconsciously, okay, this is how I'm supposed to talk about this. This is how,
Right. Yeah.
stuff like that. So, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to like you were nice enough to give me advice a couple of times, as far as like just making the videos a little bit punchier, um,
Hmm.
especially like I know a couple people like on this series have talked about not really loving talking about Mezco figures because there's so many damn accessories and so many things to talk about. It's going to take forever. So
Yeah.
the
And
only
that's
way,
why there's only one Theodore Sidecutter video out there right now.
because there's so many pieces, and the only way I figured out how to do that is just to like bang, like hands, like boom, boom, boom. So you show everything, but it's quick. And I found like when I watched it later, that was more pleasing to watch than me kind of like meandering through 53 different hands.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, like the timing is a big deal when it comes to mezco. It's like
Mhm.
I've almost stopped doing all mezcos at this point because it's like if I get it in early, I have this massive motivation to do it,
Mhm.
right? Because it's obviously going to be something that's very appealing to my audience because they haven't seen any reviews of it yet. So, like, that's a big motivator if I get it in early. But these days, I don't get them in early. So then I get it and I'm like, yeah, I'll get it. And initially, I want to review it. And then I'm like, okay, but there's other 5 things that are like a little bit more important to get up earlier than that. And then it slowly becomes this thing where like I have Mezco Conan the Conqueror. Um, and I haven't reviewed it yet because it's like it's one of those back. It just becomes a back burner thing and this like massive project essentially that goes by the wayside. You know, I even got the builder kit in like a couple days ago, and it's like I want to, but you know, I got to carve out the time, and then it's like I know the audience has already seen a bunch of reviews of all this stuff, so there's not a huge motivator there.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, the first thing I would think of is I remember your review of the prior version of the Conan, which is, you know, the whole reason that Conan is the whole reason this Conan even exists was because that figure was
Yeah,
just so like sought after when he came out. Um, Yeah, I see what you mean. Like, you know, after Theodore Sodcutter, I got the notification that my Mezco Crow was shipping, right? And this was December, this past December. And I sort of got excited. I'm like, oh, sweet. You know, I'm going to get this figure soon, too. As of right now, I don't think there's any reviews out. And I can get this figure in, get the review up, and it'll be, you know, I'll be right on top of it. But unfortunately, it was one of those mezcos where you got like the processing notice, and then like 2 weeks went by, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden, you know, Robo. Not that it matters, you know, for people that are going to watch mine, if like Robo has a review of it or something like that. But then he had a review up, and then there was, you know, 3 reviews, then there was 5, then there was 10, and then he finally came in. I think like the day after Christmas, and I still got the review up by like the end of that week. But it just wasn't. I don't know. There's a lot that I still don't really know about the YouTube, like the whole algorithm thing. Um,
right.
it, it seems like sometimes you just got to catch the right flame at the right time.
Right. Yeah. Anytime there's something that you know is super early and super quick and nobody's done it yet, that's going to be very appealing. Um, and then also like, excuse me, I can edit. Like I can, if there's any like issues, I can like edit stuff out, which is not. This is the nice thing about not doing live, right? Like
Yeah.
I can just say whatever right now and I can edit it out.
When I was coming downstairs, my my wife asked me, she's like, "All right, you're going down to record now?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "For how long?" And I'm like, "I'm not that long. I'm not sure." And she's like, "I need to know because I need to know how long to try to keep the kids kind of quiet."
Yeah, none of these have gone past 45 minutes, so
I
yeah,
don't care.
it's nice.
It's fine. But I said I was like, I don't think it's not live. So worst case scenario, he can probably take something out if it was push came to shove.
Yeah. And then I lost my train of thought what I was talking about when I had my little coughing fit. But do you
That
remember
was
what I was saying?
I had just mentioned about the whole idea of chasing, getting the review up quick from getting it in quickly. So being one
Yeah.
of the first ones to have it up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is like large. It's very beneficial. And then I guess beyond that, it's tough to like. Then it's like it really is the so like that's kind of not a fake thing, but it's like this like you know lightning in a bottle luck kind of thing. And then there's like the quality content kind of thing that is the other thing that's going to make people watch, right? Like so having really good videos, having something interesting and different like we were talking about before, something unique to your channel. And then also and this is something that came up especially in the Nerdzoic interview, like having a story to tell. And this is something I don't do super
Mhm.
well in my, at least I don't do that kind of thing in my reviews. I think Robo is a good example of somebody who does a great job of like storytelling, even right within the reviews, you know? So yeah, like that's another aspect, like when you're doing maybe non-reviews especially to try to like map out like a little arc of a story that can help with that too.
Yeah, I'm trying to like, take little things out of like everything that I see. Huh? No. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. My wife was coming to get the cat for me.
Oh, nice.
But
Relief.
so yeah, I keep everything, every video that I watch, I try to take a little bit out of it, and that's why this series has been so good, especially for me. Like you mentioned the Nerdzoic video, like after watching that, I'm like, okay, yes, that makes sense. Like, why the heck am I going to watch this review? Like what question, are you answering? Like what's going to hook somebody in to watch this video? And he kept talking about like the three things that are most important, like the title, the thumbnail, and I think he said like the first 30 seconds or something like that. And I was like, huh. I was like, do my videos do that? And I'm like, first of all, number one, I don't really love I've been like struggling with my thumbnails as to what like I really want to do there.
Yeah.
And also the titles, try to make them like right now, like, and then the last one in this series, the Sir Dork
Yeah.
episode of this series, like he talked about like trying not to just name his videos like uh you know uh mythic lead.
Theodore Sod Color review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like every one of my titles is that, and I'm like, man, yeah, like would I watch this if I already wasn't looking for every Mythic Legions review to watch? Would I watch this one? And I'm like, I'm not sure. Probably the Owl of the Moose review that I did. That one was because I got the Owl of the Moose figure, the Mythic Legions figure, and I just kept looking at him when I got him home, and I just thought it was hysterical that they made a freaking moose. And so it became like a joke around my house that like I would just walk around and just say, "They made a damn moose! They made a moose!" So like that became like the theme of that video. And
Yeah.
that was like the one title that was like a little bit different. So one of the things that I'm going to be concentrating on doing going forward is changing the intros a little bit, trying to make the thumbnail more interesting, and in the title, trying to let somebody know what are they in for when they watch this video. What's interesting about this video in particular, and then in my actual videos, I like to incorporate like a little bit of some other type of media, like a clip of video or something like that. Um, so I'm trying to like do that and make it a little bit more interesting. Um, and like one idea I had is I got the Super 7 Thunder Tank in, right? So I'm gonna do a
Yeah.
review of the Thunder Tank, and I'm like, how do I do this, right? And how can I do this and make it interesting? Because it's a big, giant, 1/12 scale uh, vehicle, and I pretty much have to do the review like probably like half in my kitchen or whatever. And I was like, what would be funny? Because you know how like in toy reviews people always do some kind of comparison, right, of
Right.
figure with other figures, either in the line or of other different lines, so you can tell how it sizes up. And I was like, it's so damn big, what would I compare it to? And I was like, I should bring it out to my driveway, set it next to my car, and then shoot like a comparison where like I compare it to a couple of vehicles, and then the next shot is, and here's the Thunder Tank next to my actual car. And then I got the idea, I need to find a tank. I need to find a tank. So I started Googling, like, where in New Jersey can I find like a decommissioned tank? Sometimes
Yeah.
outside municipal offices, they'll have like a military vehicle. So I
Yep.
don't know. I haven't located one yet, but that's my mission over the next week. Locate a tank and figure out a way to shoot 5 seconds of video with the Thunder Tank next to it.
Yeah. That's funny. You should do it next to like Power Wheels or like you know what Power Wheels are? Like those vehicles that kids get and they're like battery operated like Barbie,
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeep or something. Or like just a bike, just like a BMX bike next to it, stuff like that would be funny.
Here it is next to a house. Here it is next to a bus. Yeah, just doing things to make it a little bit different. Like I wanted to like I don't even know, like I don't, at least as of right now, I don't know that my role really is like other than giving somebody the look at the figure, um, giving them the complete ins and outs of the figure, so like they know whether or not to buy it. Um, that's cool. That's a valuable thing to do, I think. But I think my angle a little bit more is to just make the video enjoyable to watch and fun to watch, like because
Mm,
that's how I watch them. Like I don't really watch toy reviews to get an idea about a figure as to whether or not I'm going to buy it. Right? That's not really
yeah.
why I watch reviews. I watch reviews because I'm interested in just hearing about the figure, and I like hearing people talk about things they're interested in, and I want to hear about people talking about this figure or that figure. Like, it might have that effect. Like from watching the reviews, I might get interested in a figure and be like, "Oh yeah, I think I need that now too." But that's not my intention going in.
Yeah. How about what are you using for gear? Using a phone still, or what are you doing with gear right now?
I'm still
Setup.
very, very, very low level. So right in the beginning, I literally had this crappy little white photo booth that I got from Amazon that I've had for a few years. Used my iPhone. Um, I had I guess the 11 or whatever at first. Now I have the 13. Actually, no, I guess it was the 13 back then too. Just my iPhone to shoot on, and
Mm-hmm.
I've got like one of those like bendy arm things where it has a clamp where it clamps on the table, and then there's a clamp on the other end, and you put the camera in that, and that's where I position the camera at. And the entirety of my lighting was the internal lighting on the photo booth, and then I was doing it in my dining room on my dining room table with my back
Yeah.
towards a glass door that went out onto my deck, and it was the middle of July, so the sun was shining in. I kind of feel like that's some of my best lighting ever was that lighting. Um,
Yeah.
uh, and now I've progressed a little bit. Still using the photo booth, still using my iPhone, but I've got a couple of like flat panel LEDs that I'm experimenting with for lighting. I do have a couple of lume cubes, but I'm still learning all of this stuff, and there's 99% of it I don't know. Um, Now I have started, you know, turning the wheels as far as upgrading the camera so that the video looks better. And I've gotten a
Mm-hmm.
couple of recommendations on that. But as far as my program, I was using iMovie then, and I'm using iMovie now. I just find it's just so easy to use, and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to do stuff that's that sophisticated. Um, Now I have Final Cut. I have a copy of Final Cut that I could use, and I figured, well, that's the program that it would make sense to get because I'm used to iMovie. This is the next step up from iMovie. But every time that I sit down to do a review and I open up Final Cut, I end up just closing it and going back to iMovie anyway, just because of time. Because I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to need to learn how to do this. I'm going to have to watch some videos just to know what I'm doing in Final Cut, or I could just open up iMovie and just start doing editing and stuff
Yep.
there. Which, to be honest with you, I actually really like the editing part. It's just getting to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you know, I use iMovie as well, and I do wanna upgrade at some point, mostly for just like the versatility, and especially having multiple tracks, multiple
Yep.
videos or layers or whatever, so that I can do like picture in picture with multiple photos or multiple videos on top of each other, like that kind of thing. It's pretty limited in iMovie, but someday I'll do that thing where I'm like, I keep thinking about doing it. I just have to buy the software, but like I'll edit a movie and make it in iMovie, and then I'll take that raw footage and see if I can just like replicate it in Final Cut and just use that process as like just like kind of doing, and obviously I need a lot of time to do that, but just seeing if I can do the same, make the same video essentially to start with in Final Cut and then go from there, but or whatever software I choose.
Yeah, and I don't. I just my thing with this is I just want to make everything as user friendly as possible so I can take the thought out of it and just get into doing it. Now I
Yeah.
have like when I opened up Final Cut, it reminded me a lot of Logic Pro, which is Apple's like music production program. Sort of like I don't know if they still do, but Macs used to come with GarageBand, and then if you really wanted to produce music, you would buy Logic. Sort of similar with
Yeah.
iMovie, Final Cut. And from having experience with Logic Pro, like I know that it's just level upon level upon level upon level, and you can do so much stuff with it. But it's a steep, steep learning curve. So I don't even know if I'm going to move ahead with Final Cut. That's why when on your show when Trevor talked about that other program, Wondershare Filmora, or however
Yeah.
you actually say the name, sort of interested me because it sounded like it was sort of like a mix. It had a more capabilities than iMovie, but maybe not as steep of a learning curve as it would be to really master Final Cut.
Yeah.
Even though Final Cut has a really cool name.
Let's see what else here. How about like how much time do you spend on it? Do you find it to be something that you keep getting more and more into? Is this something that you see yourself like continuing to incorporate into your life, and how do you sort of balance that?
It's tough, man. Like finding there's not enough time now to do everything that I want to do, and that's true for all of us. Um, it is something that I want to keep doing. Once I put a couple of videos up, I was like, I'm liking this. Let me see if I can take this a little bit further. So I was like, I'm at least going to do it for a year and kind of see where it is and see if I can kind of come down to a routine. That's the one thing that I haven't been able to do yet that I want to do is to just, like I said before, I want to take the thought out of it as much as possible. And there's a couple of different components to that. Number one is my physical setup, right? The way I do it right now is like I'll shoot a video in my kitchen or a little bit in my basement, in a couple different areas. So every time I set up to shoot, it's like setting everything up for the first time. So
Yeah.
that takes more time. And then also coming up with a workflow where I just sort of like know exactly what I'm going to go into. Like I don't script anything. The most I've ever done is done like a quick little outline. But I would like to be able to like have the setup already set up. So when I'm ready to record a video, I could just go to my physical setup, flip a switch, and start talking, start filming, start doing that stuff. And to know that I'm going to film this first, film this next, and film something else next. And if there's any variation, it just happens spontaneously. It's not variation because I just don't have a plan for it. Right now, stuff is happening like not in sequence. Like I'm working on that Ramen Toys Quicksilver. I'm working on a review of that, and I shot some footage like 2.5 weeks ago, and I shot a little bit more like about a week ago, and then
Mm-hmm.
like on Friday night I started doing a little bit of editing and deciding what I could or couldn't do with some of that stuff, and getting some additional transitions and stuff like that online. So it's very like piecemeal, and that's making everything take a little bit longer. Um, but I figure if I can come up with a physical setup that's ready to go, and also like a chronology setup where I know that like every Tuesday and Thursday morning I get up early and do like an hour of work just on the videos, I think that'll make it a lot better. But right now I'm still trying to progress to that point. Very much. That's why like I'll have like a review out now, and then there'll be another review 2 weeks after that, and then like a month will go by or something like that.
Mm.
It's just not regular enough. So I'm still working on how to incorporate that into my life with, everything else that everybody's got a ton of stuff, kids, job, all that stuff.
I usually ask toy tubers, what's your favorite line to review and what's your least favorite? But you've really only done Mezco and Legions, right? Or have you done anything else outside that?
I've done a little bit outside that, and I kind of want to do a bunch of different stuff. And I would like to incorporate even talking about some vintage stuff somehow. But I've
Yeah.
done a bunch of Mythic Legions reviews. I've done a couple of Mezco reviews. I did one Storm collectible review. That was the Tyrus Flare and the
Oh,
Blue
that's right.
Dragon.
That's right. Yep. Yep. That was a good one.
And then I got a mystery box of figures from The Amazing, which had like a whole bunch of stuff that I just kind of went through like a bunch of different things in there. But um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, um, I would like to review some more. I keep telling myself I'm going to do some more Super 7 stuff since I have so much of it, but it just that hasn't quite fit in to the rest of the workflow yet. There's a bunch of Super 7 reviews that are still back here in the back of my mind that never made it out. into reality. So
Hmm.
still working on that part of it. I would love to
Yeah.
talk about some more boss fight stuff, like Vitruvian hack stuff. I love those figures a lot.
Yeah. That's always on my list of like I need to do it, and I literally have had their new barbarian sitting like right there next to my review table um for 2 months now or something, and it's like I haven't gotten to the point where I'm like, okay, let me do this thing. Obviously, for me, it's been a very busy sort of winter with all those Cosmic Legions test shot reviews and starting this show and stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to do boss fight as well.
Do you have like a set schedule where like there's a certain day of the week or a certain time when you normally get your work in, or are you just like sticking and moving?
Um, I mean, certain times a day and certain days of the week, yeah. Like I often do something Friday after work. Like I get out of work Friday and there's not a lot of other family stuff going on. My daughter's still at like her after school program and my wife's still home. And so I don't have like a huge disruptor to all of this in the last year. Actually, it's almost been exactly 1 year now since we got our dog. Has been the puppy. Um, and it's tough to be if nobody else is in the house. It's really tough for me to be down here because the puppy starts to bark. But he's getting closer and closer, right? Like he's a year old now. Like he's not really going to be a puppy for much longer. So I think that little like kink in the plan is going to go away. But that's been tough. Like so, some days I'll come home and like my wife goes into work 1 day a week. She generally works from home, but like 1 day a week she's not here, and so I come home and there's not really any chance of me doing anything then. Certain days where my daughter's got something after school and my wife's involved in that, again, I gotta be sort of upstairs for stuff.
Mhm.
So yeah, like it's usually like Fridays or whatever other random day of the week I can be down here to like do some videos and do some reviews and whatnot. Um, but lately, like with the test shots with this show, although I'm all caught up on this show. I need to do a couple more. I want to try to do like at least one more this week before this video goes up because having like just on my computer raw footage of various things, whether it's a review or an interview or whatever, like just ready to be edited. It's like any of those times where I'm upstairs, making sure the dog's not like barking at me while I'm down here. Like any situations like that, like I can just be working on editing videos. Or if I'm away for the weekend, I can bring my computer and just like chill out and just like edit videos for a while. So that's the thing is like I'm trying to do a better job of it not being all right, I got this new thing in. Let me review it and edit it and publish it in, this like span of 3 hours after work or whatever, which like my, I think probably when this publishes, it will have been my second most recent review, which is the dinosaur battlefield dino warrior leader guy from
Mhm.
Axie Toys. Like that one I had put off because I was doing the All Stars 5 Legions. And I was like, I got to get this thing in. They sent this to me to review. Like, this is a free copy like, I want to make sure these guys don't wait of over a week for me to do the review. So I came home Friday and that was like one of the most rushed videos ever because I wanted to like get it done and like just really start my Friday and just like chill out and hang out. So yeah, so sometimes it's like that where it's like, I'm just going to try to like carve out, just like I got this little like 2 hour stretch. I'm going to record it. And then later in the night, I'll try to edit it. And then it's like from start to finish that day. But I'm trying to do more where I just like bank a bunch of footage and then I can just like edit those. But you quickly get caught up with that footage.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, and that's like the whole like my whole theory on life in general is that like everything is about balance, right? And
Yeah.
even like the most fun thing in the world, like this hobby that we have, and just talking about toys, that can almost seem like not a burden, but it's kind of like it ends up being something else like in the back of your mind that's sort of weighing on you that you have to get to, so
Right. Yeah.
I'm still in that balance of trying to keep it fun but still getting the video out because it's still a thing to do. There's still a task, right? There's still a portion of that that's work, But for me personally, like I love having a video done and having a video up. I love getting it uploaded and getting it processed on YouTube and getting it posted and telling people about it. Like I love watching my own videos. Like I'll watch my own videos like over and over and over. And that part
Yeah.
does give me so much pleasure that I'm like, it's worth it to balance the work part of it. It's just I'm still like so far near the beginning of like working out that part of it.
Yep. And you mentioned prioritizing a setup that is a workflow that can like make it like facilitate that process where you're not, and I used to like, put together and break down my setup every single time. Or I was using just my charged lights, like I was using my charged loom cubes pretty much to light everything. And I would have to make sure they were all charged up and ready to go. And then make sure like I grabbed them and because they would run out like in about an hour, they might run out, And it's like, sometimes recording a 10-minute video takes me, it's like over an hour of footage. So, this past winter, like my goal has been similar to yours. I've been trying to get to a point where it's a little more a permanent setup that I just, I more light. Obviously, it's like just spending more money and having more gear and more lights. Like this light that's lighting me right now is the primary light I use in my reviews because it's a nice panel light that I really like. And so it travels back and forth between those two areas. So yeah, that is definitely like, and for my recommendation is to like definitely focus on that goal that you have there.
Yeah, I'm trying. I'm looking up right now. I have a couple of LED panels, like I said before. I definitely need to learn more about how to light things correctly because what's funny is we just had some work done in our kitchen, right? And there's a nice countertop that's a good height, and there's so much light in there now that when we flipped on the lights for the first time, my wife actually said she's like you could like do some of your videos in here. There's such good light. And I'm like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I was filming something one day. I think it was maybe the Decibelus review. And I had, the figure up. I still had like the photo booth and had the lights up inside and it's bright in the room. And then I had, two LED panels and I got a loom cube and like, it's not correct. It's not right. Like it's bright, but it's not even as bright as I think it should be. And there's shadows where I don't want shadows to be. And I'm like, I need to sort of figure out how this all works a little bit better than I do now.
Lighting can be difficult with a phone that's like all automated in terms of
Mm-hmm.
the way it's shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be tricky. Like unless you're outdoors and it's like just pure daylight, it can be tough. But once you have a camera where you can just adjust the settings and stuff, it'll make a big difference for sure.
Another thing I like have consciously been trying to do, it sort of goes along with like making the video a little bit punchier and a little bit more easy to watch, is making the videos shorter. Like for a
Yeah.
while when my first 3 to 5 videos were like near 20 minutes or like over 20 minutes long each. And while I might leave it on that long, I'm like, how many people actually want to sit there and hear me talk about a figure for like 20 minutes or more?
Yeah.
Um,
People will
it,
watch 20-minute videos, but they won't watch a 20-minute video that could have been 7 minutes. You know what I
right.
mean? Like that's the big difference. It's like there's a lot, like especially early on. I should probably go back and like try to re-edit one of my earliest like videos to see if I can make it decent. But like um you're not punchy, right? It's like you're conversational essentially rather than
Mhm.
presentational, I guess is the difference for that type of thing. So,
It's funny that you use the word conversational though, and I know what you mean. Where it's kind of like you're just like kind of like what I said with the first couple. of videos where I just turned on like the phone or whatever, hit record, and just started talking, and it just ends up being rambling, and you're saying the same thing like over and over and over, and I'm trying to like edit that out later. But you don't want the video to sort of watch like that. You want it to be a little bit more quick hitting, a little bit more interesting, because there's so much stuff that's so well done now. That's what people expect. That's what their brains expect. That's what their eyes expect. Um, but at the same time, I still want it to be as if, I still want it to be what it is, which is me telling you a little bit about this toy and kidding around about it. That's why I try to
Yeah.
put, like, as I'm making the video, if I say something that I think sounds stupid or I say a word wrong or something like that, I'll call it out. Like, I'll put some text like in the video, like making fun of myself or something like that. Because I want like little things to pop up that sort of like makes it like a little bit interesting. And all that's almost none of
Pers-
that's planned. Most of that is like as I'm editing, like something will come to me and I'm like, oh, I'll put this in, something like that. I
yeah.
want it to be a
It's
little bit more,
it's personal. It makes it personal, which is,
Yeah.
I think, a very strong uh, appeal when it comes to like being a YouTuber. Um, so okay, so a couple last final questions. Who are I mean, you've mentioned that you watch my channel, so beyond that and some of the obvious ones, who are some of your favorite reviewers to watch?
I really got into watching toy reviews. Um, Largely, it was the now Secret Galaxy, formerly Toy Galaxy. So back in like
Mm-hmm.
2017, 2018, I really got into watching that channel. Dan Larson and producer Greg. I think they've made fantastic videos the whole time. But just like, their videos kind of had a lot of. I liked their videos, so that's probably why I'm thinking about making videos in a similar way, where there's like a voice behind it, and it's fun and funny, because we're talking about freaking action figures.
Yeah.
It's hysterical that we're even doing this, and taking it so seriously. So, and I love theirs. If anybody hasn't watched some of their old top tens, like top 10 glow in the dark action figures, top 10 vampire action figures, stuff like that is hysterical. So, um, Toy Galaxy, I'm a big fan of. Like, I watch the Swoosh Weeklies where I got my news every week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Toy Bro, I love the fact that he's just so damn consistent. After a hard day's work, there's almost always like another video that's popped up. Um, Unparalleled Universe, Wade's videos. I love his reviews. I like his review style. It's very interesting to me. And now, like, I'm watching more of like Will White, Billy Beige Customs from the
Yeah.
Cabal, has been a freaking machine over the last few months. He's got
Yeah.
tons of stuff coming
Seriously.
out all the time, and it's
Yeah.
like he doesn't waste his time, with all this other like crap. He just comes in and he starts talking about the figure or whatever it is, and he's just very comfortable and natural, and his personality comes through, and I love that. So that's another one I've been watching a
And
lot lately.
he experiments a lot with really interesting ideas and just different
Yeah,
like, you know, he has a lot of fun with it. That's a great channel.
yeah. Um, that one I'm into a lot. And there's other channels that aren't even just like I like Geek Dad Life.
Mm-hmm.
Really, as much for like the live streams as much as the reviews. The reviews are great too, and there's a good community there too, and I'm in that Discord with a bunch of people in there, and I've seen a couple of other really cool channels. There's one called Toy Connections, where there's a lot of like the history of toys in a lot of different ways is on that channel. Shiny
That's cool.
Plastic People is a channel by this guy Chris. He has some pretty cool like graphics and stuff that he uses. So I love that channel. Brick Something has started his own channel, and he does a lot of like
Yep.
lives and unboxings. So I've been trying to check that out lately. So I'm always sort of like on the hunt for like um, more like toy tubery. Nerdzoic, I watch his channel all the time too.
Nice. Nice. And how about final question? What are your future goals for your channel?
Uh, it's right now. It's pretty like it's simplistic, and I'm trying to be reasonable with myself. Like, I'm still at the very beginning. I'm just trying to have fun, but I would like to hit that 1,000 subscriber point at some point. I don't know how long it's going to
Mm-hmm.
take. Maybe it takes a couple years. I'm not really sure. That's definitely a goal of mine. over the next year, I also want to make other kinds of videos where it's not just reviews. Like I'll
Yeah.
end up a lot of times like where I'm like on the road to my office or something like that. And you're just, your mind wanders and you're thinking about things. And I love this hobby. I love these, I love Mythic Legions. I love these action figures. So I'll be thinking about whatever the issue is, that day, and I'll have like a conversation in my head. And sometimes I'm like, you know what, this, I should make that into a video, like stuff where it's not
Right.
necessarily just reviewing a figure that came out, but talking about different stuff. One other thing that I have done is I've done a couple of like reviews, sort of like, or recaps of like a con where I'll
Hmm.
like film some footage talking about what happened, and then I'll just put up some footage of like the vendors that were there and stuff like that. I think it might be cool to do it like sort of in reverse, and do a video about a con that's coming up. So there's like it's really even more useful in that case. It is useful information because you're telling people about a
Yeah.
con that's coming up, where it is, what's the lowdown on it. Maybe I can talk to some of the people that are throwing it. So that's new content for the channel, more regular content for the channel, and just trying to build it up a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, now's the time. I mean, I feel like there was a con in every single city of the United States this weekend. Like every single like region, every person. Like PAX was in Boston this weekend. You had Toylanta, and you had like it seems like you know the this feels like the real kickoff of like con season this weekend because there's so much going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean because I've been watching, like looking out for all the reports from Toylanta, right? And I'll see a
Yeah.
post from somebody that looks like they're at a con, and I'm like, oh, is that person at Toylanta? And they're not. Like, I think Motu Joe was at something in Ohio, and like Billy Maru was at
WonderCon's going
something in,
on.
yeah, WonderCon was going on. Like, there's a ton of stuff. So I'm looking forward to sort of incorporating that into the channel anyway. So that's another thing too. If it's something that I'm going to be doing anyway, and I'm going to be thinking about and talking about, maybe I could turn that into like a video that's fun to watch. So that's
Yeah.
kind of what I'm going to do. Just help
Yeah.
people have fun with this stuff that should be fun anyway.
So, just once again for the audience, and of course, I'll put all the links in the description below. Where can everybody find you?
Sure. So on YouTube, it's at Hedgehog Action. So if you go to youtube.com/Hedgehog Action, that's where you'll find my YouTube channel. On Instagram, it's the same thing, at Hedgehog Action. On Twitter, the handle is Hedgehog Action, but it's actually at JFD6812. And that's because that's just was my old Twitter handle from a very long time ago. But for all the toy related stuff, it's Hedgehog Action, which is kind of funny because I kind of didn't realize how difficult that is to say because
Hedgehog
um,
Action.
Hedgehog Action, like I thought about it and I was like, oh, like Hedgehog Action, and the action is a reference to action figures. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I can't tell you how many times during a live stream or something else, like whoever the host is will be like, oh, this is Hedgehog Action, and I'm like, oh god, did I pick the wrong name?
um, why did you pick Hedgehog?
Hedgehog is actually a name that my wife gave me a long time ago when we were in college. We went to college together. That's how we met. My fraternity house was across the street from her sorority house. Very romantic. And when we started dating, I held an office in my fraternity house that was the chapter educator, but the term for it was Hegeman. And my wife stumbled over the word, so instead of calling me the Hegeman, she just called me the Hedgehog. She'd be like, "Yeah, my boyfriend's the Hedgehog at Teak," so that's kind of where it came from, and it sort of has just like kind of stuck ever since then. She even jokes, she's like, "Yeah, you kind of look like a cute hedgehog," so that's Hedgehog. So I'm like, "All right, that's
You've
fine,"
got some hedgehog qualities.
because I'm kind of fuzzy, kind of cute.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, although that was another thing and I did this literally just the other day. I should have done this in the beginning. Was I just like went on YouTube and just searched like Hedgehog, and then I even just searched Hedgehog Action, and like I'm aware of Sonic the Hedgehog, obviously. Like I was when I picked
I
the
was gonna
name, I knew
say,
that
have you heard of Sonic?
the first 50 things that came up were all Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm like, I think I'm keeping the name, but well, we'll see. I don't know. It's probably not the most SEO of YouTube names I could have picked, but uh, I don't know. For now, at least I'm the Hedgehog
I, I don't know. I think the SEO comes after, right? Like of the names, like DorkLair. Like what searchability is there with that until I invented it, right? Like your name is your name.
guy. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on, and I wish you the best of luck in the final months of your first year and into the years beyond. Of course, as always, anytime if you need anything from me, always just hit me up anytime. Any last
Yeah. Listen.
thoughts?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say any person that's out there that checked into one of our live streams on Saturday Day Live. That's another thing. First of all, thank you again, Bill, for letting us post that live in the DorkLair collectors group on Facebook. If you're into this
Yeah.
stuff at all and you're on Facebook, check out the DorkLair collectors group. It's an awesome group that everybody kind of is looking out for each other. But anybody that's checked in on one of our lives or has watched one of my videos, thanks a lot. I'm just happy to have somebody else to talk about this stuff too, because my wife can only take so much. And I also appreciate everybody out in this community was so nice and so helpful. You're first among the bunch. You answered all my questions, provided, given me advice. Literally, I posted my first video, and you and Trevor were talking about it on Legion's Lounge like that night. So my final words are thanks for everybody who's spent any time with the channel this year, and thanks to everybody who's tried to help me out because I really appreciate it, man. It's made the process that much more fun to me.
Awesome. And everybody, until next time, may the force be with you.